If you've been listening to the pod, you know I'm marking my calendar for the big sale from Last Bottle Wines, one of our wonderful sponsors. If you don't already know, they're a Napa-based online wine shop that offers 30 to 70% off retail. And the best part, there's no subscriptions, no fees, and no minimum purchase, just a daily email with really great wine. And as I mentioned, they're having a massive sale. Their marathon sale is coming up on March 28th and 29th. They flip that one wine per day rule on its head and instead offer back-to-back, two-back deals. That means wines are only up on the site for a couple minutes at a time. We got a preview order with the mini marathon package of some of their favorites, and I'm telling you, it's a sale you want to get in on. And the best part is we're offering Dateable listeners 10% off your first order with code DATEABLE. Sign up at lastbottlewines.com and use the code DATEABLE and find out why Last Bottle is the most fun way to discover and buy amazing wine. We are so thrilled to be partnering with Hinge. Hinge is the dating app designed to be deleted. As you all know, I'm a huge Hinge advocate as I met my partner of almost 3 years on the app. Even before meeting him, Hinge was always my go-to app because I met more relationship-minded people here and had some great dates. Clearly, I haven't been on the app for a little while, but I re-downloaded it to check out some of the new features. One that stood out to me was the voice prompt, my best friend's take on why you should date me, where your friend can hype you up. Not only does this make the profile creation less daunting, but it's not always easy to see your own green flags. So to test it out, I asked Yue some fun prompts to get her take on what I could put if I was dating again. So the first one, how long have we known each other? What was your first impression of me and how has that changed?
Julie and I have known each other for almost 10 years. My first impression of Julie was that she's very social, but I've learned that she has a lot more depth to her beyond the social butterfly that she is.
My next prompt, what do you think are my green flags?
I would say she's deeply loyal. She believes in love, curious mindset, and she is fearlessly ambitious.
And then last but not least, what kind of friend am I?
Julie is the kind of friend who will always have your back, no matter what.
Damn, that feels nice to hear. So download Hinge and try voice prompts today. Then find someone worth deleting the app for.
Hi, I'm Yue Xu.
And I'm Julie Krafchick.
We're active daters turned dating sociologists.
Here to dive into everything modern dating and relationships.
Welcome to the Dateable Podcast. Hello, Dateables. Is it time for brunchies? I'm going to use the word brunchies.
Damn right it is. But only if you use the word brunchies.
Brunchies. That sounds so basic. Hey, you want to go to brunchies Saturday?
Oh my God, please don't start that.
Brunchy talk. Well, we are back for another episode of Brunch Talk where we answer your burning dating questions. That is the goal of these episodes. They are weekly. They are on Sundays. They are shorter than our midweek podcast episodes, but we answer your burning questions and we get them done. Question for this Brunch Talk is the lack of experience a turnoff when it comes to dating?
Yes, and we want to thank this listener, Rahim, who submitted a wonderful review. In addition,
Yay.
5 stars with the question that said, for more context, I'm a 26-year-old male who has limited dating and relationship history.
I feel like relationship history and experience is very much relative. You could be 26 and have been in 2 relationships, but maybe 2 relationships where you learn nothing from them, or you were only in 1 relationship where you learned a lot from it. I think the bigger picture question is, what have you learned from dating that you can apply to relationships? Not so much the experience of relationships.
Also, 26, you're a baby still. It's okay.
Baby.
I don't know why, as a culture, we have this thing, because we do hear this a lot of people being like, oh, they don't have any past experience, or I'm their first relationship, or they haven't had a lot of partners. There's something wrong with them. That's the feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree with that at all, but for whatever reason, we think that the quantity of our past partners is saying like how desirable we are.
Yeah.
I would reframe it of, what have you been doing for the last 26 years? Probably some of them you were just being born and coming to your own. So like even
eating, learning
what
to
have
walk.
you been doing for the last 6 years? It doesn't even have to be 26 years. and just tell your story. It's okay if relationships haven't been a priority for you until now. I don't think 26, even if you're 36, 46, 56, whatever it is, there's never an age. Like, we go through different stages of life. It's just, how do you share with someone of where you've been, where you want to go, and why right now you're interested in dating and meeting new people.
It's all about the narrative that you tell yourself
Yes.
and to other people. If you go into dates and you start with, I haven't had that much relationship experience, someone's going to corner you into that and think, oh, okay, maybe this person doesn't have much to offer. But if you go into dates saying, oh, I haven't had that many long-term relationships, but I've learned a lot about relational skills, people skills, learning about myself. I've been in therapy. I've done all the self-work. That shows experience in itself. And I think that's more valuable than the actual relationships.
Yeah, I've listened to this great podcast, Dateable. It's really helped me out.
That's all you need.
But I feel like, though, I'd rather someone that is introspective, that's doing the work, than someone that just jumps from relationship to relationship.
Yes.
It doesn't mean anything. And also, like, the relationship that I have with you is different than the relationship I had with a past partner. So yeah, of course, everything does teach you relational skills, but if you can learn those skills in another way or tap into the skills that you have with other people in your life, then it doesn't matter. Like, you're not like, oh, I've been in 5 relationships, I know how to do relationships.
No.
It's going to be different dependent on you and that person.
I can honestly speak for myself where the first few relationships I've had, I don't count them anymore because I didn't learn anything from them. So if you were to take those out, I probably only been in 2 real relationships.
Same.
As a 42-year-old, right? And I've had more technically relationships, but I didn't learn. I didn't like improve myself or progress from them. So it's also relative to how you want to look at these experiences and how they've helped you. But at the end of the day, someone's going to date you not for your relationship resume, but for what you bring into the relationship.
Right. I mean, all this is so arbitrary. Like, we hear people say, like, I've dated them for 6 months, but I only saw them once a month.
Right.
Or I've had 10 relationships, but they were barely scratching the surface. And, you know, we weren't doing life in any way together. Like, it doesn't matter. I think ultimately that is the truth. And more of what it is it gets in the way of your self-esteem when you get so focused on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you just keep focusing on that narrative, then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're going to become the relationship amateur in everybody's eyes because that's the vibe you're giving off. But we can learn so much without the long-term relationships. But in dating, we learn so much relational skills too. So it's important to like bring all that out and applaud yourself for being in that space. But if you do find that you don't have much relationship experience and you also haven't learned much from dating, maybe that is a sign for you to step back and be like, where can I gain more experience?
Yeah.
Is it more about the self-reflection, that kind of inner work, or is it more like you need to go out on more dates so you can learn more relational skills?
Yeah. Before we keep going, I think I have a theory of like why people are afraid of this, like from the receiving end of dating someone that hasn't had a lot of relationship experience. But before we go there, let's take a minute for a few messages.
This episode is sponsored by Viia. We all know there are things that can help set the mood in the bedroom, but did you know a little THC could also do that? Yes, Viia has developed a unique blend of pleasure-enhancing cannabinoids, libido-strengthening herbs, and a low dose of THC all into one mind-blowing gummy called High Love. This gummy, wow, it will awaken your senses, increase blood flow, and intensify any sexual experience. I've been pleasantly surprised by the High Love gummies because it is just the right amount of THC for me to have a good time without feeling sleepy. And hey, if THC is not your thing, Viia also offers a wide array of other gummies without it. And everything legally ships in 50 states with discreet packaging directly to your door. So if you're over 21, you can get 15% off and a free pack of award-winning Dreams THC plus CBN sleep gummies with our exclusive code DATEABLE at viiahemp.com. That's VIIAHEMP.com. Let the gummies work their magic. Head to viahemp.com and use the code DATEABLE to receive 15% off and one free sample of their Sleepy Dream Gummies. That's viahemp.com and use the code DATEABLE at checkout. Take your passion and pleasure to a whole new level with High Love from Via Hemp.
As you know, I recently left my corporate job and I've been in total recovery mode, all about self-care. One of my new routines is the nighttime shower before bed. There's just something about washing away the day and that reflection that's been super helpful for me. I've been using one of our partners, Osea's Mega Moisture Duo. This combo body oil and body lotion are so freaking incredible. It literally feels like I'm at a spa. I realized that the secret is seaweed and other skin level ingredients that are normally reserved for face products. And that's why I was so excited when Osea became one of our partners. And, you know, we're so grateful for partners like this because one, they keep the show going, but they're also super good for all of our listeners and for our own well-being. So if you want to have that nighttime bliss like I am doing, you can get 10% off your first order site-wide with code DATEABLE at oseamalibu.com. You'll get free samples with every order and free shipping on orders over $60. So head to oseamalibu.com and use the code DATEABLE for 10% off. Let us know which products you end up going with. Share them in social. Super excited to see what you end up choosing.
Living with ADHD can be a challenge, and dating with ADHD is definitely a challenge, we've heard many of you say. But finding the right care and proper tools needed to succeed can be life-changing. Done is an online ADHD care platform that can get you all the resources you need to help manage your ADHD. Online visits, refills, and a 24/7 care team made for you. In just 1 minute, Done's online assessment can help kickstart your ADHD treatment journey. With experienced clinicians, worry-fill refills, and online visits, you can start getting personalized care as soon as today or tomorrow. So contact an expert team that can help you around the clock and get a personalized treatment plan just for you. Here's how you do it. Take a free 1-minute assessment and book an appointment with a licensed ADHD clinician as soon as the next day. Get continuous care, one-click refills, insurance coverage, and 24/7 care team support with Done for just $79 a month, and pharmacy copays as low as $0. Visit get.donefirst.com/podcast to learn more. That's get.donefirst.com/podcast to learn more. Done. Turn ADHD into your strength.
Okay, so I think one of the things I've heard for before is I don't want to teach this person. I don't want to have to tell them how it's done. And I don't think that if you haven't had a ton of relationships, you necessarily need to be taught. That being said, like, I think it's showing someone that you are capable, like you're a good listener. You have these skills, like unless you have no interaction with any human being, like you've had these skills. I think that's where the fear is coming from though. Like I'm going to have to like do everything. I'm going to have to lead this relationship.
Yeah.
So like, how do you start to help someone get that out of their head that this could be an issue?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it's like the other person doesn't want to be set back in starting a new relationship. But like instead of thinking about it as a linear experience, think about where are your strengths that you can bring in? Where can you complement each other in your skill set? I think it's more important to highlight that than like, I have to teach you all the relational skills. Well, guess what? There's many more relational skills for us to learn in relationships, no matter how long you've been with someone. So that's not the main point here. You have to learn those together. But like, what are you bringing into this interaction? I also believe, I don't know, I have no proof for this. It's like in dating, somehow you just match with people with similar relationship experiences. It's like the way you present yourself and speak and the vibe you give off, you get other people who are like you. So if you are in a stage where you haven't had much of that relationship resume, you're probably going to attract someone else who's in the same boat. And then you two can explore that together.
Yeah. And I mean, even if you don't, that's also assuming that people in relationships have it all figured out, which we know is not the case. I think it's seeing the positive of both too, is if you're fresher, like maybe you're actually less jaded or you're more curious or you're more open to, you know, figuring it out with your partner because you don't have this preconceived way of how a relationship could work. So I encourage people to see the positives of all situations. Like, of course, if you're matched with someone on the same experience level, that's one thing. But even if you're not, there's always positive if you see it.
Julie, I want to know, you always describe yourself as like a late-ish bloomer.
Yeah.
So did you ever feel this when you were seriously dating? Like, I'm behind?
Not really. I mean, I think also it's all relative too.
Yeah.
Like, I think late-ish, maybe I did it like the very early stages, like in my 20s and college, like coming out of college, maybe then I felt it like, oh, I need to catch up. But then after you get a few experiences under your belt, you realize that you know just as much as anyone else and you're not doing it more. So maybe it's just like that first hump of getting over it, of being like, oh, I can do this, or I can go out with people. I just also like haven't felt like people have judged me in any way. Like I would say like my first time really falling in love was when I was 31. So while that's not like so old, it's not so young either. That's just not like the first relationship I was in, but I would say it's the first like serious one that like actually was reciprocal love. Actually, I should caveat reciprocal love.
That's important.
That is important. But I think like, you know, every experience builds on each other. Maybe that's actually a good way to segue it is like before that I had fallen in love, but it wasn't reciprocal. And then I'm like, oh, now I'm just moving up a notch. Like I'm growing. And like, that's the only way you can look at it.
And see, that was such a great way to explain your dating history to someone. And I think for anybody who we've heard this, like you're in your late 30s, early 40s, you've never been in a serious relationship, you're trying to get into one. What is the reason? There is always a reason. Maybe you prioritize your career for the last 10 years. Maybe you prioritize family. Maybe something happened in your life where you couldn't. We just need to fill in the blank. That's all. Like we just need to know where the gaps are. And like when you write your resume, if you took a gap year or you took some time off, you have to explain that to your employer. But there's always a reason. It's not like you're just sitting around like, oh, relationship's going to fall into my lap. No. So get accustomed to being able to paint that picture.
Well, that was definitely my story. And I remember like being in therapy. Your question earlier is like, did this affect you? I'd say yes and no now that it's like coming back to me a little. It's like, it didn't affect me in the sense like I wasn't able to go out there and try. Like I think I got over that hump pretty easily.
Yeah.
But when things didn't work out, I think I went back to like when I did with my ex, the one I first fell in love with at 31, when that didn't work out, I was like, yep, it was too good to be true. Back to this single default status. I'm not the relationship person. And my therapist had to remind me, you moved across the country. You've been focused on work. Like you've been building a life.
Yeah.
It's not like you've just been trying to get into relationships and have zero luck. Like there was periods that just wasn't a priority and focus. And a lot of this, I would say most of it is our own perception. It's not actually the reality in any way.
Yeah.
Like just because that relationship didn't work out didn't mean that I was like destined to be alone and was bad at relationships. Just didn't work out.
Yeah. See, that's a great way to explain it. And I don't think that's a turn off in any way. And stop thinking about it as a turn on or a turn off. These are like non-issues. They shouldn't be turning anyone on or off.
The right person isn't going to care. As long as you're showing up in a way that they could see a relationship with you, that's ultimately all that matters.
Yeah.
It's only a problem if you don't have relational skills at all.
Yes.
So this is your opportunity to get more dating experience, build those relational skills, keep listening to podcasts, keep doing whatever you need to do to grow those relational skills, because that's what's going to actually be the turn on or turn off.
I love that. So great. Such a great way to like reframe it. And we hope that you too will reframe it to the listener who sent in this question. And we know many of you are in the same boat. So hope this is a great reframe for you. Well, that was a great brunch talk question. You can send in your questions in multiple ways. You can email us, hello@dateablepodcast.com. You can DM us on Instagram @dateablepodcast. But the preferred way is you leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, 5 stars. And in the body of your review, you can ask your question there. This is how this question came about. We bumped it up to the top of the queue. We answer it right away. It's urgent. That's your Screams must answer question now. So that's just a little tidbit if you want to get your answers right away.
Yep. And make sure to subscribe to Dateable Podcasts. You get brunch talk every Sunday as soon as it drops. And then also the long form podcasts are hour-long, where we really go into it. We go into all the whys, what's happening in modern dating, and then how we can get out of it, how we can change for the better and change our outlook and make dating work for us.
All right. We'll see you all next week for brunch cheese talk.
Nope. See you next week.
Nope. The Dateable Podcast is part of the Frolic Media Network. Find more podcasts you'll love at frolic.media/podcasts. You can follow us on Instagram at Dateable Podcast and visit dateablepodcast.com for access to all the episodes and our premium programs. Also, make sure to subscribe today if you haven't already on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform so you are the first to get all the latest episodes. And most importantly, stay dateable.